Good afternoon and welcome to our 5 p.m. storm recovery update. I am Ken Welch, Mayor of the City of St. Petersburg, and I'm honored to be joined by the Chair of our City Council, Deborah Figgs Sanders, members of our St. Petersburg team, Representative Lindsay Cross, thank you, and our partners at Duke Energy. Throughout the day, city crews have been working on damage assessments and clearing debris from our streets. Thankfully, the debris piles from Helene did not significantly add to the problem, but hundreds of trees did go down all over the city, and many of those trees took down electric service wires which may be active. So please look for down power lines and use caution around them. Our first recovery priority is to clear debris from the streets so residents and crews can get through safely. Citywide debris pickup will resume once the streets have been cleared and are safe to navigate. Another reason we ask folks to stay off the streets is because more than 100 traffic signals are still down throughout the city. If you absolutely have to travel on the roads, when you approach a down traffic light, please treat it as a four-way stop. I also want residents to be aware that out of an abundance of caution, the city has closed 1st Avenue North to 1st Avenue South and 3rd to 5th Street. Please avoid these areas as construction crews work to address a fallen construction crane. As it relates to our water systems, we had 30 water line breaks, mostly from fallen trees, and our crews are out there working around the clock to repair them. Despite the water line breaks, drinking water has been restored to our residents. However, we are still under a boil water notice. So please make sure you boil water coming from your faucets before you drink it or brush your teeth with it, but it is safe for showering and other uses. I can also report that last night we had 3 overnight fires during the time that first responders were not able to answer calls. I want to thank our fire rescue team for quickly responding to emergency calls once it was safe to do so. Before we move into our power outage update, I want to turn it over to Yolanda for a Spanish translation. Yolanda?
Thank you, Mayor. A lo largo del día, los equipos de la ciudad han estado trabajando en la evaluación de los daños y la limpieza de escombros en nuestras calles. Afortunadamente, los montones de escombros de Helene no se sumaron al problema, pero cientos de árboles cayeron por toda la ciudad. También tenemos más de 100 semáforos de tráfico fuera de operación. Si usted tiene que viajar en las carreteras, cuando se acerque a un semáforo caído, por favor, trátelo como una parada de 4 vías. También los árboles caídos rompieron más de 30 tuberías de agua y nuestros equipos están trabajando sin descanso para repararlos. Mientras tanto, seguimos bajo un aviso de hervir el agua antes de beberla o cepillarse los dientes, pero sí puede ducharse. También tuvimos 3 incendios durante las horas de la tormenta cuando los equipos de bomberos no podían responder. La tormenta dejó la mayoría de la ciudad sin electricidad.
Thank you, Yolanda. Now, we are closely monitoring power outages throughout the city, and we understand that getting power back is a huge part of our recovery process. To make sure that we have the latest information for residents on power restoration, I'm inviting Jeff Baker from Duke Energy to provide an update on outages and the power restoration timeline and what residents should expect. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Currently, just at the time of this press conference, we have about 70% of the county still without power. 405,000 customers in Pinellas County do not have electricity service at this time, and about 141,000 of those are in the immediate St. Petersburg area. Duke Energy is prepared for this storm. We've brought in 16,000 resources from all over the country and as far away as Canada. And 5,000 of those resources will be housed in the Pinellas County area to assist us with restoring power. Today's focus for our company has been damage assessment and working to ensure that the critical health and safety facilities of our community received power. But I do need to manage expectations for the community. This will be a lengthy restoration. There will be some of you in your homes and businesses that will receive power. It could be as early as today or tomorrow, but given the magnitude of this storm, we do expect this to be a situation where we could have outages that may last for a week or longer. We will work to establish more accurate estimated times of restoration in the coming days, but for now, if you are still without power, please make sure that you have adequate supplies at your home to make sure that you can withstand an outage that may be lengthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and we'll continue working with Duke Energy to ensure power is restored as quickly as possible. For the last part of this update, I want to bring up Mike Jeffries, our Community Enrichment Administrator, to provide an update on the city's debris collection efforts. And Mike will be followed by Amy Foster, the city's Housing and Neighborhood Services Administrator, for a sanitation update. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Right now, our first priority is what we call the first push. As soon as the sun rose this morning, we were out working with our first responders, making sure that our forestry crews were able to push the debris out of the main artery streets as quickly as possible. I'm happy to report that all of our main streets have been cleared of any trees that are not engaged with Duke. I also want to thank our representative from Duke for embedding a Duke team with our forestry division to help us navigate the different trees that are engaged with power. Our second priority as we move forward through the debris push cycle is to work through our secondary streets. Again, as you see these trees that are down, please use our SeeClick Fix app to report those. It allows us to track and log those as we move forward. We will start that push through our secondary streets tomorrow. We know that each and every one of you is wanting to clean up your properties as well. And we want to remind you of a few things as you're starting to do that. First, our observations have been that the debris from the previous storm really hasn't moved as much in a lot of the city as we were fearful that it would. We're happy to report that it seems to be in the same piles as you left it. I do want to remind everybody that it is important that we continue to segregate debris, that we make sure that we keep our vegetative debris separate from our construction C&D debris, and then from our white goods, which would be our appliances as well. It's critical that each and every one of you realize that this debris is processed, it's picked up, and it's handled differently depending on the type of debris that it is. I also want to remind everybody again, we are not able to pick up any debris that has been bagged, so it's absolutely critical that you get your debris to the curb and that it's not bagged. We understand the importance of getting the debris off the streets. That is absolutely a top priority for us. It is a big lift for our city. The previous storm had 10,000 homes that were flooded. It will take us a significant amount of time to clear the debris from our city. I'm happy to report that we have support from the National Guard, from the state, from our federal partners, from the county. It's all hands on deck. Today we had crews from Parks and Recreation, Forestry, Sanitation, Stormwater. Everyone was helping to make sure that we were able to get that first push taken care of. I do want to remind everybody again that this is a big challenge to clear the city. The challenge from the previous storm was there, and the debris and the devastation that we've experienced through Milton has just added to that. So we would ask each and every one of you to be patient. Please know that you don't have to report your debris. We are doing multiple sweeps in each community, each neighborhood. We will get it. We also understand that everybody will not have their debris out on the curb line at the same time. It takes different households a different amount of time to get their debris to the street, and we will continue to cycle through that until we clean the entire city. But again, we understand how important it is for this debris to be removed. Please know that we are committed and we're doing everything that we possibly can. As the storm was bearing down on St. Pete, we executed a notice to proceed with our debris contractor and our debris monitor just so that we could move as nimbly as we can and as quickly as we can to get this debris removed.
Thank you, Mike. Amy?
Good afternoon. As we talked this morning, this is a heavy vegetative event, and so I'm happy to announce that tomorrow we'll be able to open brush sites for normal hours. The only exceptions to that will be Lake Magori, and that is because of flooding. So whenever the waters recede, we will reopen the Lake Magori brush site. And then 26th Avenue has a down power line, and so we won't be able to open that location until that power line has been taken care of. The incinerator and the recycling processing plant are both working today on damage assessments. We anticipate being able to collect commercial solid waste tomorrow, Friday, October 11th. If possible, we'll collect residential solid waste on Saturday, but we'll need to provide an update on collections tomorrow. Many of our streets and alleys are completely impassable. In order to clear the city quickly, we have supplemented our city teams with contractors and additional crane trucks in order to return to normal as soon as possible. In addition to that, we are also going to reopen the Raytheon debris management site tomorrow. That's at 1951 72nd Street North. We'll open at 7:30 a.m. and be open until 7 p.m. You can bring brush or C&D materials to this site if you have a way to transport that yourself. Again, tomorrow we'll be able to provide an additional update for residential collection. We are hoping that the incinerator and the recycling processor will be able to come online, and we'll be able to provide more information when we have that. That's all.
Thank you, Amy and Mike, and all of our teams for your work around the clock to initiate this recovery process. You're doing outstanding work. We'll continue to provide updates on the recovery process as we move forward, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Have there been any reports of flooding with any storm surge? Like, just what's kind of the status on that?
Claude, can you speak to that? Claude Tankersley, our Public Works Administrator.
The question was, has there been any reports of flooding from storm surge?
Yeah, flood, yeah.
And we actually got lucky. The storm passed just far enough south of us that instead of pushing water into the bay, it pulled the water out of the bay. And so therefore the storm surge was actually negative for most of the night, and we did not experience any flooding from storm surge.
Has the city had to dump anything? Have any sewage?
We have not had any reports of any dumps.
Mayor, can we learn a little bit more about the fallen crane?
Sure.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, excuse me, Colin. Can I just add on to what Claude said? Thank you so much. I just want to let you know, we didn't have any surge-related flooding, like Claude said. But we did experience approximately 18 inches of rain in a short period of time, which my understanding is it's one of the most significant rain events the city has ever seen. So we do have flooding in other parts of the city. We are still reviewing whether there were any homes damaged. I don't have that information for you right now. We will begin our damage assessments tomorrow, so we'll have more information on that. I am concerned that possibly there were homes flooded from the rain flooding, so we are dealing with that issue as well.
On the crane falling, do we have an extent of the damage and rubble on the ground? Like, any other infrastructure damage? Was there, I know there's been reports about the gas smell. Was there a gas leak?
Let me ask Don Tyre to come and address that, and if you could repeat the question as well, Don.
The question was basically any subsequent damage from the crane impact?
Yeah, just the extent of the rubble and if there was any gas leak.
Right. And as far as I know, no. There was no other damage. The damage is significant to the Times building. I have been in conversation with the developer and the contractor, and they are flying an engineer to analyze how best to dismantle that section of the crane and remove it, and then clear the road as well.
You said earlier today that the city reached out to the developer on Saturday. I heard that earlier today.
Yes, your question was,
Yeah.
yes.
So, what does that notice look like, and what information did the city have to reach out to the developer?
It was verbally on the weekend. My inspection staff started doing site inspections on Friday, just looking at all the construction sites, both commercial and residential. And we reached out specifically to the developer. It was either Saturday or Sunday, and we basically asked them the possibility of removing the tower crane sections. And that's when we had the discussion where it was basically impractical to do so because of the short notice and the rapid intensification of the storm.
And the notice that went out to residents and the surrounding businesses around there, that started Tuesday?
Okay, you're asking about the public safety advisory,
Correct.
right? Yes, that went out, I believe, Tuesday morning.
Okay. And how was contact made? Because I'm hearing that some flyers are just posted to buildings, so like leasing offices after they have closed. So how was contact made, or is it confirmed? Is that kind of thing tracked?
Yes, so, well, your question is how is the notification made? We did do door postings on all the businesses. And then the fire marshal's office went around to the residential occupied structures and they made contact with the management team and made announcements over the fire alarm PA and left the same postings with the residential property.
So that's announcements in the building, like a PA system?
Yes, it's part of the fire alarm system.
Okay, and is that tracked? That's something that's tracked?
It's not necessarily tracked. We did map out the area that where possible impacts could happen. We did a perimeter, basically a radius, 1 to 2 block radius around the 4 main construction sites, and those are the buildings that we focused on.
Okay. And if the notice was left, so it was those, the combination of those things, notices on there, also reaching out to the leasing officer, whoever the management office is there. And in every single building, was there a PA announcement?
I can't really confirm that. The fire marshal's office did the residential structures.
Thank you. Oh, should people around there be wearing masks because of rubble? Like, or anything like that, if it would help risk at all?
Are we prepared to speak to that? We don't have an answer for you, but we will research that and get back to you in the public. All right. Thank you. That concludes our update.